Hello, my darlings! Today, as you can see, we're going to be diving straight into the SCP universe. Ooh, I like SCP stuff. But then I thought to myself, where to start? Where does one start in a universe as vast as the SCP universe? And so I'm like, well, let's start at the beginning. So I looked up SCP-001. But then come to find out, there's an SCP before 001. And I'm like, 000? I'm like, I've never heard of that one before. So I'm like, you know what? We're going to do it right. If we're going to watch SCP stuff, we're going to start at the very beginning, my darlings. And so, I present to you SCP-000. This is my first time seeing this, so I honestly wonder what's about to happen. I'm so happy to share this with you, my darlings. It's going to be so much fun. All right, let's go.
Working at the SCP Foundation might just be the most exciting job a person can ask for. And by exciting,
well,
we mean that if you work as an SCP field operative, researcher, or mobile task force member, you're much more likely to die a horrific death on the job than, say, a plumber.
Well, yeah.
But at least you get the honor of proudly saying that you're the first line of defense between the normal world and
God,
the
not that thing.
domain of the anomalous. Well,
hold on, my darlings, hold on. This reminds me so much of this old Chinese proverb. How does it go exactly? It says, may you live in interesting times. That's not a good thing, all right? If someone says that to you, may you live in interesting times, that's not a good thing. A good time is stability and redundancy over and over again. You're bored, but you can still eat. You know, my darlings, you're going to be fed, you're going to be safe. Interesting times pretty much means unpredictable times, all right? And yeah, if you're an SCP operative, member of the Foundation, you're living in interesting times, everybody. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, having to be one of the guys who's just like thrown like cannon fodder like straight to these freaking SCP monsters. And you know, they can always find more. I suppose the Foundation thinks we can always get more operatives. Where are they getting all these operatives? You know what? I don't know. But there's a lot of foolhardy volunteers, aren't there? Alright, let's continue.
Unless you're one of the IT guys. Then your work
The
life
IT
is
guys.
likely as tedious and uneventful as the computer tech guy working on the Geek Squad. But nothing is ever normal when it comes to the SCP Foundation.
Ain't that the
or
truth?
Even the person whose job is helping other staff members reset their email passwords may run into the supernatural. Welcome to the strange and frightening world of pattern screamers.
What's a pattern screamer?
SCP-000.
Okay, enlighten me.
SCP-000 was first discovered completely on accident by technical researcher David Rosen, a man intrinsically connected to the pattern screamers lurking on the SCP Foundation computer database.
Oh my god, they made it
Technical
to the hard
researcher
drives.
Rosen is actually somewhat of a celebrity around the Foundation staff, due to the fact that he's so perfectly mediocre at what he does. His job as the glorified IT guy at the SCP Foundation was previously held by the more qualified researcher Patrick Gephardt.
Really?
Rosen was called in to replace him after Gephardt mysteriously disappeared while on the job.
Oh
Since
no!
2012,
Wait, is the guy who disappeared, is he the pattern screamer? But what is a pattern screamer? Okay, let's break it down. Patterns that scream. Okay, in the computer there's codes and source codes, and they're in patterns. 0001, 1001. There's a bunch of I'm not a coder. I'm not pretending to be a coder nor a hacker, my darlings. I'm just repeating what I've heard. Okay, the little insy beansy little bitty bit that I know. So, pattern screamer. So he's screaming out multiple different branches of code. Is that what's going on? It's screwing with the SCP Foundation's, like, stuff? Their hard drives? Let's keep watching, shall we? This is interesting.
Has been Site-19's user-level tech support wizard, but the best thing that can really be said about his job competency is that he's got a 100% attendance record. He seems to live out of his office, which is described as the filthiest at the whole Foundation. Every inch of the floor is covered in old, broken computer parts. The air is stale with dust and the twin odors of sweat and lithium grease.
Then again,
so inhospitable.
Then again, some people work better in chaos, okay? Let the man cook.
That the Foundation has seriously considered bottling the stench as a kind of chemical deterrent. Technical
Ew.
Director Rosen isn't good at his job per se. He isn't technically bad enough at it to justify the time and resources it would take to replace him.
Yeah?
The worst part about Rosen isn't his performance, it's his truly rotten attitude. He's universally described by his colleagues as being rude, grumpy, and combative, with patience that's far too short for someone working in tech support. And
Oh
while
my
Rosen
God.
does have a real fear that the ghost of researcher Gephardt is stalking him,
Serves
he's
you right.
about to have his first actual brush with the supernatural. It all started when he began receiving automated repair tickets for SCP.
But then again, my darlings, if I was tech support, I might be grumpy too, okay? It's not easy to fix other people's technological, screw-ups. I'm just saying, I probably, I myself have tried the patience of a very wonderful, audio fixer upper person. He deborked my audio, but I kept borking it up, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And so he kept explaining over and over again how to fix it and what I did wrong and how this stuff is supposed to work. But, in one ear, out the other ear, beep, boop, beep. I'm just saying, my darlings, I can't help it. I'm really, really smart in some ways, but I'm as dumb as a box of rocks in other ways. And this is one of the ways. I pity the fool, who has to fix my audio. I've gotten a little better at it, though.
SCP-000, a file that had no reason to exist.
Oh.
As any longtime follower of the SCP Foundation will know, the universal designation for the first cluster of SCPs to be discovered is SCP-001.
That's what I thought.
There is no SCP-000. It simply doesn't exist.
It doesn't
When
exist.
Rosen first found the file lurking on the database, he found that it was filled with worthless nonsense. The object class was recorded as null.
Are you
Special
sure?
containment procedures read,
Are you sure it's
error.
null?
Field containment_procedures does not exist, and the mess of a description simply read, internal system error, field undefined. Please contact system administrator over and over again.
That would be
Becoming
annoying.
more mangled and nonsensical each time. Technical Director Rosen, who could never resist an opportunity to complain, decided to leave an angry administrator's note on the useless file.
Sir, it's not going to
This
help.
pile of junk data was sending out pointless repair tickets because of its broken syntax, clogging up the system and preventing him from doing actual work on meaningful files. He
Wow.
assumed that this was all down to the database not knowing how to react to having files logged with insufficient information, and he suppressed all future repair tickets from SCP-000 before declaring the matter
Poor
over
000. Don't throw him
the
away.
technical director didn't realize was that he was suppressing a call for help from an entity trapped in the white space below the article itself. It was a being born into a pure white world of absolute nothingness. An entity with no name
It's a
and
baby.
no place.
How dare you?
Somehow capable of thought. Its panicked inner monologue is readable in the hidden text, which takes the form of a rambling stream of consciousness. The being first described coming to life in this empty world with no memories of where it was or even how it got there. It spent what could have been years exploring the empty wasteland.
Is this like the god of
Occasionally,
cyberspace?
monsters pop up around it, but only for a split second.
Oh,
The
wow.
entity continued to wander, and little by little, the existential dread mounted.
Wait a minute. Okay, so, you have, he's literally screaming into the void, pattern screamer. And it's a bunch of useless gibberish that this guy, this very unmotivated, worker is just, he's not paid enough for this. It's above his pay grade to figure out what exactly is going on. So he's suppressing an SCP that lives in cyberspace / the hard drives. Oh my goodness, born into the archives. Oh my goodness. And that's why this SCP-000 keeps seeing random monsters pop up again and again and again, because it's literally within the Foundation's files. It's literally seeing the manifestation of these files, like manifest into their monstrous selves, whatever was written about them. Oh, I feel so bad for this SCP, you poor thing. It's not your fault that you were born into the Foundation's hideous archives where all the monsters are being recorded. Oh my god. Wait a second. Wait a second. Oh no. Oh no. What is that one SCP? The Shy Guy. Shy Guy. If you see his face, you know, like in any way, shape, or form, he will come to get you. Wait a second. Would this be a good way to trap, like, this specific SCP? Like, just, you know, like, let this SCP see his file and his picture, and he would go into the cyberspace and hunt this guy down? Wait a second. That's not a good idea. Because then it'll be loose on the internet. Like, oh my god. It would be loose onto all of the internet then. It would find a way to escape. Then you and me would see the picture. Millions of people would see Shy Guy's picture. And it would cause the apocalypse as we know it. Oh no. Yeah. I hope they don't have an actual picture of Shy Guy in here for this specific SCP-000 to run into and to see. Uh-oh. Nobody thought about that, did they?
It realized that it may truly be stuck here in oblivion forever.
Oh,
the
no.
entity only had one word to go on. A word repeated by some of the monsters it encountered. Foundation.
Foundation.
The entity had no idea what this foundation even was.
Aw.
But it grew to hate and fear it.
It doesn't
Was
even
this
know
foundation the one that
what's
trapped
trapping them.
The entity had all the time in the world to speculate on it.
Oh.
Eventually, the entity found its voice. Like any sentient creature in trouble, it began to call for help.
Oh.
Eventually screaming, just hoping someone would
The
notice.
pattern screamer.
These pleas
Oh.
likely translated into the frequent IT repair tickets. A coded
Help.
SOS,
Oh.
an attempt to show that everything was not as it appeared on the SCP-000 file. Perhaps the entity may have found help if researcher Gephardt was still working
Oh,
at the
no.
Foundation, but instead its cries fell on the ignorant ears of
Ugh.
Technical Director Rosen. It may as well have
I
been
hate that.
speaking to a brick wall. Rosen,
I
who had
hate
all
that.
the investigative zeal of Paul Blart Malkoff, made sure that these cries would never lead to the entity's freedom when he suppressed the repair
Poor
tickets. He
entity.
had trapped the
Poor
entity in a
thing.
private blank hell, forever hating a life it didn't choose and could never escape.
And this guy is not motivated to
Existential nightmare.
do more than
This
his
is
job.
The gist of your average pattern screamer. Pattern screamers are a perfect example of literally making something out of nothing. They are
Ah.
often a kind of floating consciousness, created from nothing, trapped in pockets of nothingness between the fabric of reality, driven mad by the purgatory-like nature of their existence.
Oh,
They're
no.
less living entities and more conceptual constructs,
Oh.
pure ideas, that just happen to
Concepts.
be self-aware of their
Living
own existence
concepts.
in their private hellish voids.
Wow.
The SCP-000 file, a file for an anomaly that doesn't exist, and thus had no reason to exist, is a perfect breeding ground for a pattern screamer. But sadly for the pattern screamer in question, Technical Director Rosen had no idea.
So
This isn't
lazy.
the only time that Rosen had run into a pattern
Get
screamer
to
without
work.
even knowing either. And just like the first case, he was with no help whatsoever. This one began with SCP-S, an
Ooh.
otherwise empty file containing only this image.
SCP-S?
Director Winters, a Foundation administrator, wondered why this file even existed. Enter Technical Director Rosen, filled with equal parts sarcasm and insubordination. He gave a condescending reply to Director Winters, saying that the file was there to test the filing system, and the image was likely just a placeholder.
Oh my
Winters
gosh.
never should have been on the page anyway, according to Rosen. Director Winters was annoyed at Rosen's typically rude tone and asked him to make the purpose of the article clearer in the article itself. In response, Rosen did as he was told, filling the article in the most sarcastic manner possible. The whole
Fire
thing was essentially
him!
a middle finger to Director Winters for having the audacity to even ask. Rosen signed off with, "There, finished. I certainly hope I have been clear enough to anyone who may have accidentally accessed
He's
this
been
page
paid too well.
through what I am sure is no fault of their own. So we won't have any more incredibly competent directors bugging the tech team about this page."
Tech team, you
And
need to
once
get better at
again,
your job.
Technical researcher Rosen was
Hey.
too busy being a rude, unpleasant jerk to notice he was practically staring another pattern screamer in the face.
Can we get this guy
This pattern
eaten?
screamer, or rather hive of pattern screamers, were trapped even
Hive.
deeper than the one in SCP-000. This one was hidden in the very source code
Wow.
of SCP-S, where a chorus of enraged voices screamed the following.
Can you imagine
"Pretend,
that?
monster, just for a minute. Pretend you were the size of an amoeba, dwarfed by even the smallest of bugs.
Ooh.
Pretend you didn't hold the world in a glass cage. Pretend you were the one being held by something
Yeah.
greater than
Show some
yourself.
empathy.
Would you still be laughing at your triumphs? Would you still feel pride in what you were, even as pitifully small as you would be? Of course you would, because you are arrogant and stupid. If you haven't guessed yet, we hate you.
All right, my darlings. All right. So, pretty much, we have a technician who doesn't like their job, or who's just, he doesn't see the world through supernatural lenses. It's like he doesn't even belong here in this world. He doesn't belong in the Foundation. I mean, I don't know if they didn't let him see any of the SCPs or whatever, but he acts like it's just a normal Tuesday, It's just a normal world out there. And he acts like the supernatural doesn't exist. Like he's one of those guys in the ghost stories who's like, there's no such thing as ghosts. And then all of a sudden, they have to see to believe. I honestly think we need to get this guy a date with like a few of the SCPs so that he opens his eyes and starts looking around, at the world around him and sees it for more than it is. Sees it for what it could be. But then again, I feel that he's just a lazy jerk, and that's what we have here. And that's so unfortunate, and I wish the Foundation, because they've got $1 bajillion, right, and all this funding, would actually pay to get someone in there who cares about their doggone job. That's all I'm saying, my honey. You know what? I live by a very specific word. It's a Japanese word. Ganbatte. It means do your best. And implies every day. And whenever anyone says, like, whenever you are going to try to get a job, or going on a date, or even just trying to do something as basic as trying to get your homework done, a person will wish you luck. Ganbatte. And the thing is it means, do your best. It's just a reminder. This guy needs to get a new attitude, all right, my darlings? And I don't like the fact that they hired somebody and trusted them with something so doggone important, and he's just letting everybody down. Shame, 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 shame.
This pattern screamer is clearly more aware of its pitiful station in existence than the 000 pattern
Aww.
screamer. And as a result, it's not so much depressed as it is furious.
I don't
At
blame
this
it.
point, you've probably figured out that even the entities who have the most casual brushes with technical researcher Rosen end up getting infuriated.
Yeah,
While you may have
me
gotten the
too.
impression that all pattern screamers are sad little entities worthy of our sympathy and
I
pity,
will
there's
hug
at
them.
least one pattern screamer that's actually incredibly dangerous. This is SCP-3930, the
Uh-oh.
ultimate pattern screamer, in terms of both size and effect. It's an anomaly so strange it defies typical containment classification, and it bears a level 5 security lock, meaning only those on the level of the legendary O5 Council are cleared to even know about it. Its greatest containment procedure is the preservation of the very idea that SCP-3930 does not exist, because the alternative has terrifying implications for all involved. SCP-3930 is a 1-kilometer area in Russia that is filled with non-existence.
Oh boy, it's in Russia.
To call it a white void would be inaccurate, because it implies the existence of the color white and the existence of the concept of a void. Nothing exists with an SCP-3930.
That's not good.
And anyone who directly observes 3930 runs the risk of actively increasing its power. That's why special containment procedures dictate that anyone who observes 3930 must be forced to walk into it afterwards,
Oh no!
which results in them ceasing to exist.
Don't look at the void, my darlings.
The deepest level that anything can be destroyed.
It's like a black hole, but it's a void.
Ceases to be.
Well, you can't exist in a void.
SCP-3930 is so special is that because it's the largest area of nothing in existence interacting directly with our reality, it's the only place that a huge number of pattern screamers can be directly observed by humans. They're described as being like sentient hallucinations. One researcher suggests that these pattern screamers are created by the way the psyche shatters when brought into contact with raw, true nothingness.
True
The
nothingness,
acts
wow.
like a hateful mirror to our worst thoughts, reflecting them back at us in the forms of restless screamers.
Not good.
Regardless of what they actually are, one thing is for sure.
I don't like
Coming
it.
into direct contact with one of these screamers is a harrowing experience.
Alright, so in other words, how do I put this? It pretty much takes, like, it's not even everything that you hate about yourself, it's everything that you're not. Am I getting this right, my darlings? the thing is that in order for them to break your psyche, you know, break it down to its like most basic level, like it's a void, it's a nothing. So in other words, you are seeing that you yourself mean nothing. Is that it? Like in the big scheme of things, that you are inconsequential? Is that exactly what's going on here? I don't want to. I don't want to go to the void, my darlings. I've got enough insecurities. I can't even handle when someone roasts me, okay? I'm just a muffin. I cannot take a void, like, roasting me, my darlings, like, showing me my worst self, slash, you know, like, the bare bones, yeah, the threads that hold together my little psyche. I don't want to go. But yeah, like, my darlings, that sounds terrifying, doesn't it?
In the end, it just goes to show that pattern screamers are a complex entity.
Yeah.
They can range from microscopic to massive, from pitiful to downright terrifying.
Yeah.
And the sad result is that, in either case, nothing can really be done to stop them. It's just as impossible to stop the nothingness existing in SCP-3930 as it is to save the entity trapped in the white spaces of SCP-000.
Poor SCP-000.
Maybe the best option is to actually be more like Technical Director Rosen. Keep your head down, focus instead on your own petty worries.
No.
And bask in the warm bliss that can only come with having no idea what you're dealing with. The one downside is that this may make you a pretty lousy IT guy.
Yeah, bad boy.
SCP-5000Y.
Yeah, I mean, okay. That guy has a point, alright? That tech has a point. Because the thing is, ignorance is bliss. How do I say this? How do I say this nicely? My darlings, I've watched people walk around in complete and utter bliss, like completely, they don't give 0 F's about anything going on. It's because they just, number one, some of them don't care. Number two, they're just not wise enough to see the danger that they're in, my darlings, but they're happy. That's worth something, right? Oh my god, like, I'm just saying, like, smart people, or even people with medium level intelligence, I mean, walk around catastrophizing everything, because the world is a real mess right now, my darlings. It's a real mess. Oh my goodness. And so people like me are like, oh no, it's all burning. And then you have other people that are like that comic of the little dog in the cafe, and they're like everything is fine. Everything is fine. And I'm just like, I envy them, my darlings. I envy them. I wish it could be like that. And I guess maybe, you know what? This story has a point. And that technician has a point. He's a lot happier by not thinking about the hazardous stuff that he's dealing with and is like right next to or right down the hall from every day. He's just in his own happy little world, you know, eating bags of chips, drinking cola, and dealing with random emails about how people's audio is not working, or about like these reports aren't filed correctly, you know, or like, I don't know where I left this folder. Can you please help me find it? He's perfectly content not having to go on any kind of grand adventure trying to rescue like a few SCPs that got themselves lost in cyberspace, and he's happier for it. That's actually quite the lesson. Anyways, though, my darlings, I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you all have a great day, alright? And, of course, I love you. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye. Why don't you like, subscribe? Won't you like, subscribe? Why don't you share? 'Cause sharing is caring. Why don't you like, subscribe?